I want to bring in CNN Safety Analyst David Susi, who is a former FAA safety inspector. Good morning to you, David. So
Good morning, Emma.
these hearings are about finding out about how and why this happened, and of course, making some safety recommendations. It seems like we already know how this happened, right? That these 4 bolts were never reinstalled onto the door plug.
Yeah, those are the causes. The NTSB looks into what the proximate cause is primarily. What's the last thing that could have prevented it from happening? And yeah, we already have those answers. But what they'll be looking at is more in depth of the actual cause with a latent view. A latent view means things that were in place that should have caught it beforehand. So that's what they'll be focusing on in this hearing as well.
Okay, so then what could have caught it? What should have caught it beforehand?
Well, what should have caught it is kind of funny because what should have caught it is a little different than what caused it. So we'll talk about that a little bit. But what could have caught it and should have caught it is a safety net, a safety umbrella, which requires inspections on safety critical items. This was a safety critical item, but it was not identified as such. So therefore, the inspection team never came back in and looked at it again from eyes from someone who didn't do the work. So that's what was missing. That's the missing piece here.
But why wasn't it identified as a safety critical item? Was that just an oversight?
A great question. What the problem is that unscheduled maintenance. Boeing is a master at assembly line, putting things together step by step. What needs to be inspected, what doesn't. Where they faltered in this case and in others as well is the fact that this is a repair. This is something that came in the door wrong, and they had to fix it. So that's the point that they have to fix, and they actually have taken steps to fix that from happening. They don't accept non-conforming parts anymore. They used to, and then they would fix it on the assembly line. And that's where this fell apart, because it's a different set of engineering standards. It's a different set of skills and licensed people that do these repairs than those that do that on a routine basis. So that's where this whole system fell apart, was vulnerable, and was not identified. That mechanic doing the repair didn't say, hey, wait a minute, we need to have a second set of eyes on this, and he wasn't qualified to make that decision. Boeing needed to change that.
I mean, it just seems like such a simple part of the process, and you would assume, right, as a layperson, that this is what is happening, that they're redundantly checking that, that these doors have plugs on, or excuse me, the bolts on them.
Yeah. Even as a mechanic myself for years, and with the FAA for 17 years, step one is you lay out what parts you've taken off. And if there's extra parts at the end, you did something wrong. Let's get it fixed. Let's put all the parts back in that came off, right? Simple. But it is more than that. There were many people involved in different shifts and different people making these changes. And so the transition between them is where it really fell apart. And that's the purpose of this safety umbrella, to make sure that that does not happen. So that's one of the things that Boeing has to fix, and the NTSB will demand that they fix.
Before we go, David, I do want to ask you about the new CEO who will start on August 8th of this week. And as we all know, I mean, Boeing is faced with this, if not impossible, very, very difficult task of rebuilding trust with consumers. And also it's facing multiple investigations, one of which is criminal. But Robert Kelly Ortberg has been named to replace CEO Dave Calhoun, who stepped down recently amidst, all that's happened. What do you know about Robert Ortberg? What is his reputation in the industry?
Kelly
Ortberg.
Yeah,
okay.
Kelly Ortberg he's a great choice. He really is. The challenge that he has, but I'm not sure anyone would have had this, but when he ran Collins Rockwell as a CEO there, he was very involved in the engineering, very involved in the quality and the manufacturing, very good person for this position. However, his position there only had 22 billion in sales and 70,000 employees. Boeing is nearly 3 times that size. And so it's a different challenge. And it goes into, the good thing is he does have the military background as well as the commercial aerospace background. So I don't think they could have found a better choice than this. I think he's the right person to make sure that the employees get what they want on their union contracts, and that their production increases.
All right, good to hear. He doesn't have the most enviable job, but we'll watch and see how he turns things around if he does. David Susi, thank you. Good to see you.